Alright, this is lesson 4 and it's using the Google Calendar, part of Google Apps Basics. Alright, so we're on our blank page here that we just opened up on a new tab. We're in our launcher for the calendar. The calendar tool is really useful. You can have multiple calendars. What you see here right now is my personal calendar. The items in blue are things on my personal calendar over here for work. I do have my personal outside one linked in here, but I also have calendars by task or topic. Okay, so DIDIC meetings, mentor protege meetings, etc. And these calendars happen to be shared with those groups of people. So the events put on here show up for everyone in that calendar. Down here, you see a list of calendars that other people have shared with you. Okay, so mostly mine are when Google will be releasing new features. That's available to anyone, by the way. You can go in and add their calendar. I have the Miami Dolphins games, holidays in the United States, etc. All. And I can pop those on. You can see there's President's Day and Valentine's Day appearing on my calendar. So the way this works is just what I did. You toggle a calendar on. The events for that calendar show up in your amalgamated calendar, which is a combination of all the ones that currently have color filled here. If I click on the DIDIC one, you'll see on Tuesday that appointment pops up there. It's on my personal and on my DIDIC calendar because this one is a shared calendar with other people. Okay? So how do we add a new calendar for a class, for a club, for whatever purpose we want, parent conferences, whatever we want a new calendar for? We simply click this button here and go to Create New Calendar. When we do that, it brings us to a screen where we can put a title for the calendar in. We'll call this one Parent Conferences. You can fill in a description and a location, really not necessary. If you put the location, it does help people map to it if you're using Google Maps. You should switch to Eastern Time Zone so that the times are displayed properly. And then you get into some specific choices down here that are important. If this calendar, Parent Conferences one, is going to be shared with the parent or put on your website, you're going to want to check Share this calendar with others, and then say Make this calendar public, where they'll be able to see all the events. They can't change them, but they can see them. If you're going to want them to change them, it becomes a lot more cumbersome because you're going to have to add their email addresses down here. Okay, so you can share a calendar view only in this section here for the most part. Down here, you can give specific people access. So if I wanted my colleague to have access, I would type in Gail Petrofesta's name, add her, and then I can control what level she has. If I want her to be able to add things to the calendar and make changes, I would do Make Changes and Manage Sharing. Okay, and at any point, I can remove here by clicking on here. Once I'm done with all these settings, I can click Create Calendar. I'm not going to for this one because I don't need a parent conference calendar. And it would take me back to my calendar screen here. That new calendar would show up over here. I could toggle it on or off so the events show up over here. Okay, so that's the first thing, is how to add a calendar. Next, and that was that first slide up here, how to add and or create, share a new calendar. Okay, so that's what we did. When you have an existing calendar, how do you change the sharing settings and the notification settings? It's fairly easy also, so we're going to do that one right now. So we come over here and we look at our list of calendars. When we want to see who a calendar is shared with or change those settings, simply click this little arrow next to it, and you'll see we get a whole bunch of choices here, including what color the calendar is represented on our amalgamated calendar. But one of the choices in here is Share this calendar. When we click on that, it takes us to a screen and shows us the individual people that this calendar is shared with, and whether that calendar is public for people outside of those people to see. This particular one is not shared outside. It's only shared with the group of people that are needing to have access, and then some individual people separately. Okay, so that takes you right to the share setting. You can also check on the notifications right here. Basically, this screen determines when Google will send you an email or a text based on events that are on that calendar. So if a new event is added and you want to get an email or a text when that happens, you can check those boxes. If an event gets canceled and you want an email or text when it gets canceled, you can check those boxes. So the calendar notifications are controlled through here. I think by default they're all off, and you have to turn them on, so be aware of that. Okay, so if I click Save, it takes me back to here. In that same screen, when you right-click, there's a whole bunch of other things that you can do here. If you go to the calendar settings for that calendar, you get a whole bunch of information up here. Okay. One of the things to pay attention to here is the calendar address, HTML. If you click on that, it gives you the address that you could share that calendar with people. So if you shared it with all the parents and you didn't want to put it on your website, you could just email them this link, and then they'd be able to have access to the calendar via that link. Okay. You can also permanently delete a calendar from here. So if you accidentally make a calendar, or you make it and it's only really a 1-year use calendar, you can delete it at any point by clicking permanently delete this calendar. Note there is no coming back from this. Not like everything else in Google where it goes someplace and sits for a while. Okay, so be aware of that. When you delete a calendar, you deleted a calendar. Okay. To access shared calendars is really easy for the most part. If a calendar is shared directly with you, it will appear automatically right down here. If it doesn't, you can go into this Add a Coworker's calendar, begin to type in their name, and it will pull it up. However, when you do this, it pulls up their main calendar. Okay. If they haven't shared it with you already, you have to ask them to share it with you. So in this case, I don't have access to Gail's calendar. I would have to ask her, and then she would give me permission, and it would show up. Okay, so it should show up automatically down here. If it doesn't, you can check to see if you have access by typing in their name. If you don't have access, it'll prompt you to send them an email requesting access to their calendar. Okay, there are also really cool in here a bunch of interesting Google calendars that they've added. So you can browse interesting calendars. And you can see there's all the holidays across all over the world. So especially if you're doing a unit at the elementary school where you're talking about the culture of a country or in a foreign language and you want to pull up their holiday calendar and put it on yours, you can. Students can also. So it's a really cool feature. All of your sports teams are here too. So obviously you saw that I was a football fan and American football, and you can see that I subscribe to the Miami Dolphins calendar so I can see when the games are right on my calendar. Okay, so at any point you can add those calendars. There are a few additional ones, but not too commonly used. So that lets you bring up any resource calendar Shen has built. I built a loaner calendar for the SIL equipment. We're not using it yet, though, so don't add it. Okay, so you can see all different kinds of calendars here, including Star Trek star dates for the calendar if you want. Okay, back to calendar button right here, and you're back in your calendar. Alright, so that's accessing a shared calendar, changing a calendar settings. So now we need to show you how to add an appointment and how to hide calendars you no longer want to see. Okay, so adding an appointment, fairly easy, but there's one little catch to it. So if I want to add an appointment right here, I just double click, go into the advanced settings for the calendar. You get a short one if you single click, and I give the calendar item a name. By default, they're always set to an all-day appointment. If you're doing a calendar for students and you're going to put it on your website, the all-day is nice because it puts it as a solid block of color rather than just in the text of the color. Okay? And the reason why I mention that is because if each teacher puts together their own calendar, you can then combine them all together on the website so that they look like this. So this is a middle school team, and you can see, if you look at their calendar, each teacher's stuff is in a different color. So this teacher has their calendar in their side, this teacher has it on their account, and then on the website they combine all three of them together. The way they do that is by sharing their calendars with the person who has the website access, and that person can then add them onto the website with just a couple clicks. But that's a different class, Google Sites. Okay, so but you can see how it looks really nice with the solid blocks of color because those are all set to all-day events. Okay. So to add we were on add an appointment to the calendar right here. Give it a name, you choose all day. You can set up a repeating schedule so it happens every week on Tuesday at a certain time, etc. Okay. Where you want to access the calendar, or where the event is, and you can put the room number, you can put the location, etc. All right. Here is the key. By default, it wants to put it on your personal calendar. You have to move it to the calendar that you want it to be on. So if you created a parent conference calendar, you have to put it on there. If you created a homework calendar for the students, you have to make sure you put it on there. So this determines where it will show up. So I'm going to add this appointment to the test calendar and say save. Notice I see that appointment here because my test calendar is on. When I toggle it off, Okay, that event appears and disappears. If I accidentally created an event I don't want, I can click once on it, the delete button is there, it says it's deleted up here, and you have a little bit of time to undo it if you want, but not too long. Alright, so that's how you add an event to the calendar, and it's real important that when you put the event in, you choose which of your calendars you want that to apply to. Okay, so adding an event to your calendar. If you've linked your calendar to your website, any events you add in here in the calendar view automatically appear over on the website view. Add an appointment. Okay, wouldn't change the event color because your calendars are color coded separately. If you change the event color, it gets confusing as to what calendar it's on. Okay, if you do attach a file to a calendar appointment, which I didn't talk about when I was in the appointment, note that the file also has to be shared in your Google Drive if it's a Google Drive file. So if you create a Google Doc for parents, you attach it to a calendar appointment, or if you create a homework assignment that you attach to a homework appointment on the calendar, you have to make sure that that file is available for the people to see who are going to be looking at it on the calendar. Okay? So making a folder in your Google Drive set to public access with the link is probably the best way to do it. Okay? You can also invite guests to an appointment just like you can in Outlook. I didn't go over that feature either, but those are all in there. All right, when you are looking over here at your calendars, sometimes you get too many calendars in these menus and it becomes hard to look at them and toggle them on and off. If it's a calendar you're no longer using, one of the things you can do is click the arrow next to it and say hide this calendar from the list. It won't show up in here. You didn't delete the calendar. That's a whole different step. You just removed it so you can't see it from the list. So hide the calendar from the list. Once you remove a calendar that way, the only way to add it back is to come up here and click on your settings menu. Come down here to settings. And then one of the tabs here is calendar. And when you do that, you can see which calendars currently show up, and you can uncheck them to get rid of them. If it's a calendar that is shared with you, you can unsubscribe to it to permanently not see it. This just temporarily hides it from your list. And you can see there's calendars down here that are my shared ones, calendars up here that are mine. Okay? Again, that's not deleting a calendar, it's just removing it from your view. Okay? Back in the calendar thing, the only thing I didn't show you is we start off in month view. You can control which month you see by going backwards or forwards. Okay? You can also control whether you see it in a day view, week view, month view, agenda view. Okay? So you get a couple options there. You can also print your calendar in the view you're currently in by going to more and selecting print. Okay, I prefer month view personally for mine. So that's lesson 4 on using the Google Calendar app.